Welcome to Overwatch, and welcome to another patch rundown. This is going to be for the February 18th patch, or version 27174. I'm just going to call it 174 because the last three digits are all that really matter. So what comes into 174? Well, a lot of small changes and some fairly big ones to Bastion and Torbjorn, and we're going to go into those in some detail. I wanted to get this episode out earlier, but the Down developers released this patch in the middle of the night on the 18th, and then on the 19th I had a lot of real life stuff to do, so I couldn't quite get the video out in time. On the bright side, it means I've had a chance to play a little more with the new patch. So first things first, we're going to look at Torbjorn. And some big changes here, mostly to the turret, some to his own combat effectiveness. First and foremost, the turret bullet damage was dropped from 16 to 14, meaning that's a reduction by 4 damage per shot on the tier 2 turret. Remember, it has 2 guns, not 1. And the repair amount was decreased from 100 to 50 health per swing, meaning he can tank much less with his turret. Now, to me, this is an interesting change because there was kind of a silver lining with Torbjorn's overpowered turrets, where he was just hammering away, repairing it, and the team could... Basically, if you were carrying behind like a Reinhardt shield or something, you could do a lot of damage to the turret and he would keep repairing it, and your entire team would have ultimates up and ready to go in about 5 seconds flat. It was one of the most easy ways to build a huge amount of ultimate, and as someone who likes to play a lot of Widowmaker, for example, it was definitely the most reliable way for me to build up and get Infrasight up and running. Pretty much immediately there was a Torbjorn on the map. So with that gone, I'm actually a little bit depressed, although the turret damage has been reduced as well, making it a little bit less threatening. And overall, the turret should just be easier to remove quickly if Torbjorn is trying to basically nurse the turret and look after the turret, babysit it effectively. So he's going to be less effective at doing that. He also took some minor hits to his combat effectiveness, although actually kind of an increase to his combat effectiveness. The rivet gun's maximum ammo was reduced by 2, that's not too big. And the alternate fire, the cost was decreased from 5 to 3, so you used to get 4 shots with the alternate fire, the shotgun style blast, and now you get 6, because 3 times 6 is oftentimes 18. Now this I quite like because the alternate fire is actually very powerful, and so yeah, that makes me quite happy because spamming that's really damn useful. One change that isn't mentioned in the notes but is really big is the turret tracking rate was also decreased. So the turret now takes longer to acquire targets and longer to turn around as well, so it's no longer going to really snap fire to people. And with turret design, this is a really good metric to change in my opinion. So when you're looking at a turret, you've got to consider, you know, how much damage can it do, how fast can it acquire targets, and how accurate is it. Now, most turrets in games are 100% accurate. They don't miss. They lock onto a target and they'll shoot it and shoot it and shoot it and shoot it. Of course, if they fire projectiles like rockets, then sure, those can miss, you can dodge them. But in most cases, the turret is 100% accurate. Now, the number that they've been tweaking so far, up until this point, is they've been tweaking damage. So basically, the turret is immune to skill. You can't outskill the turret. It will lock onto you, it will start shooting you, it will deal damage. You have a very tiny window originally to do damage to the turret before it locked on and started firing, and you generally almost always take at least a single hit from the turret. Now, however, the turret will take a little bit longer to acquire that target, and that means you can do things like peek around corners, you can do some damage to the turret, you can, you know, jockey in and out of corners. You can also get behind the turret and force it to swap targets a lot, and that will really confuse it and make it much easier to deal with. It also means that you can outskill the turret, and that to me is a lot better and a lot nicer. Turret tracking and turn rate is by far the most fun thing to tweak with a turret because, hey, it means you can outplay the turret. It means good players get rewarded. It means good players have ways of dealing with the turret. It also means your team can then be involved more in defending the turret, because if the turret can't defend itself from someone circling around it like crazy, well, then it's up to the team to help the turret at that stage. Now, I still have a few issues with Torbjorn. It feels like rebuilding the turret is the real problem to me. If the team covers Torbjorn properly, you can just constantly get tier 2 turrets up within about 6 or 7 seconds of each other, and that's a huge problem. You basically have no downtime, no weak point to exploit and really break open their defense and then use that to go forward. It's just at the moment, Torbjorn gets his turret up almost all the time unless you kill him, and for that you really need like a Widowmaker or something. She's incredibly good at just removing the Torbjorn behind the turret if he's trying to repair it. If you want to have a powerful turret, you've got to have that weak point. Like, you have to have that weakness of when the turret is down, it's down for a considerable amount of time. I'm just going to briefly mention Team Fortress 2, where the tier 3 turret took a long time and a lot of effort to rebuild. And as such, when you got the tier 3 turret down, you had this big weak point to really hammer in. And what used to happen with the old design, when you had to use scrap to build the turret, is you'd have to use molten core to rebuild the tier 3 turret, and that was kind of your emergency button. Now that emergency button isn't needed anymore because you can just rebuild the tier 2 turret immediately. As such, the tier 2 turret is just ubiquitous, and I think that just needs a little bit of tweaking. You just need a little bit longer to get that tier 2 turret in place. Next in line for major changes is Bastion, and oh boy, Bastion got a whole massive wallet with a nerf hammer. In my opinion, Torbjorn was the bigger problem than Bastion, but it seems the devs didn't think so, because Bastion has lost 300 armor. You could fit 2 tracers in that, and have room to spare because it's armor, not normal defense. That's insane. That's a huge amount of health lost on Bastion there. The poor guy's been just completely neutered. On the bright side, his damage has been increased, so basically they've said that they've changed bullet damage from the February 9th patch, and that basically means that he's doing about 1/3 more damage now, so he really does tear people down. But you can no longer tank basically anything, and you are completely reliant on having a Reinhardt or something in front of you, defending you and absorbing shots, because once people start focusing you, you will drop in a matter of seconds as Bastion. He also got a minor buff to configuration recon, so the weapon spread on that was decreased, but it's still not really good enough to do any real fighting with. I don't expect to see Bastion running around engaging people toe-to-toe that much. Although he can sort of act as this kind of, I don't know, okay-ish mid-range fighter with the self-heal, he's still not effective enough at engaging people in recon form to really justify using it. It feels like Bastion is just in a weird place right now where the developers aren't really sure what to do with him, and he's going to be incredibly difficult to balance, because right now if I had to give you advice on how to use Bastion, it will be as a surprise pick. You swap to him when the team has been pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, and you just want something to stop that and break that up slightly. You swap to Bastion, deal a shitload of damage, get your ult, fire ult, and then swap to something else before they can start really dealing with you. Now, especially if they get a Tracer behind you and hit the weak spot, you are going to just drop immediately. I mean, that was pretty much the case before. If Tracer could get behind Bastion and just unload an entire clip into him, he was done. Now it's just insane. Now he's ridiculously easy to deal with, does a shitload of damage, but won't be much better than a surprise pick. That being said, I'm going to pause here and just going to talk about the state of the game as a whole. It is healthier and more fun for the game when both these characters are underpowered rather than overpowered. So when the Feb 9th patch hit, these characters are basically overpowered. Defenses were a lot stronger, and they were a lot less fun to play against. Now, Torbjorn might still be a bit overpowered. He might still be a little bit overtuned, just the ability to rebuild turrets and just keep smashing them out. As long as people aren't playing well with each other and not playing as a team, as 6 individuals, you will struggle against Torbjorn. Against Bastion, not so much. He's got plenty of ways of dealing with him. Just really quickly, like Zenyatta can deal with him, Rodok can deal with him if he can get into range, although he will tear you into shreds if you can't. Same with Reinhardt. I still like the pick of Tracer against Bastion. It just forces him to deal with threats in multiple directions, so he can't really handle that. Widowmaker is always a good pick against Bastion just because you outdamage him at range. Pharah is a good pick. Soldier 76 is also a fairly good pick, again, just for those range reasons. With the Helix rockets, you can do a lot of damage that way and just keep chipping him down and heal up any damage he does back to you. I do think the characters are healthier than they were before, so as I said, it is a numbers game now, and the Bastion nerfs are just very drastic, but I'd rather have Bastion be underpowered and then tuned up, rather than overpowered and then tuned down, just because that's more fun and healthier for the game as a whole. Other changes, first one we're going to look at is D.Va. So D.Va's mech is no longer move or aim locked after being cooled down. It just gives you that little extra smoothness in getting back into the mech and getting fighting again immediately. There was a period of about, I don't know, half a second-ish when you were fairly vulnerable and would take quite a bit of damage if you tried to cool your mech in an enemy firefight. Self-destruct change is quite big though. D.Va was pretty badly nerfed to the changes where ultimate charge was not generated by taking damage anymore. She used to get a huge amount of her ultimate from that, and the ability to just recall a mech and then just drop a bomb on people was pretty huge. Now she will generate ultimate charge passively while in human form rather than mech form for both cool mech and self-destruct, so she gets that a little bit more and a little bit faster. That's quite nice, as she wasn't getting as many as she was before, although in general tanks are seeing fewer ultimates than they used to. Also, she can call the mechs a little bit faster, a fifth faster in fact, 20% ultimate cost decrease on that, so that's actually pretty huge. That said, I really like D.Va's human form. It just does a shitload of damage. She's actually kind of hard to kill because she's incredibly thin, and as such hitting her is not easy. But basically, D.Va should see more time in the mech